1807, the Napoleonic Wars. The Russian army of Tsar Alexander marches off to do battle with... Wait a minute! Those aren't French! What's going on? Find out today on The Die is Cocked. Not again. Hello, I'm Bruce. Welcome to the basement. Today's battle will be one that most of you have probably never even heard of. I know I certainly hadn't. Today we refight the Battle of Turbat, March 17th, 1807. If you asked a wargamer to name a battle fought by the Russian army in 1807, most would say Friedland, or Eylau, or maybe even Heilsberg. But in 1807, the Russians weren't just fighting against France. In 1806, Selim III, Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, deposed the pro-Russian hospodars, or lords, of Wallachia and Moldavia, two Balkan vassal states of the Ottomans. At the same time, the French occupied Dalmatia. Concerned about their borders, the Russians sent an army into Wallachia and Moldavia to prevent further French advances. With some prompting by the French, Selim responded to this invasion with a declaration of war. A Russian division was sent towards Giurgiu to pin down the Ottoman forces there, while the main blow was struck elsewhere. This force was commanded by General Mikhail Miloradovich, who would later be heavily engaged in the Napoleonic Wars. The Ottoman forces in the area were commanded by Mustafa Beyraktar. 200 years before, the Ottoman army had been among the best in the world and had conquered a vast empire. By 1807, however, it was no longer equal to the other powers of Europe in terms of training or weapons, and relied on the quantity rather than the quality of its troops. In fact, while European armies of the day carried large and colorful regimental flags to show pride in their units, the Janissaries, once the most elite troops in Europe, now just carried the regimental soup kettles as their battle standards. In contrast, the Russian army in 1807 was an excellent combined arms organization, armed with modern weapons. It had even given the great Napoleon a run for his money at the Battle of Eylau. Today, the Ottoman players will be Bob, Mark, and Dave, who is off camera. The Russians will be played by Eric, who will be Miloradovich, Perry, who will play Generals Bakhmetyev and Ulanius, and me, who will be General Azaev. The Russian objective will be to capture the town of Turbat, which is just outside Giurgiu. The Ottoman objective is to drive the Russian army from the field.
Hey Bruce, what are you and your geek friends playing today?
Oh, hi dear. Hey everyone, it's Mrs. The Die is Cocked again, here to grace us all with her insights about our hobby. We're playing the Battle of Turbat. Why don't you go back and listen to the introduction so you'll know what it's all about?
Yawn. Oh, do I really have to? I think I get it already. Turbat stands for Turkish battle, right?
No! Well, yeah, I guess that works. All right, Mrs. The Die is Cocked. Now pay attention. Here we see the Turkish camp. Here is the Ottoman army in the town of Turbat. And here is the Ottoman camp on the right flank.
And here's a fun fact. Did you know that an Ottoman is a piece of furniture that you put your feet on?
Oh, help me, Jesus. The Russian army advances onto the field.
Want to hear another fun fact, Bruce?
No. This is what it looks like on the map as the Russians advance towards Turbat. As we can see, Perry's force contains grenadier units, the best troops in the Russian army. Oh, crap.
What?
I was going to have some drums playing in the background, but my sound effects machine is broken.
Well, maybe I could do the sound effects for you. Do 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 do. Boom.
Oh, help me, Jesus. Dave's guns open fire at Perry, but he rolls a 1.
Boom.
Wow. That was the most unrealistic cannon sound I have ever heard.
You're such a critic. I'm just trying to help.
The Ottoman army advances. Bob and Mark are very aggressive players, and they know that with the Turks, the best defense is a good offense. However, all the Turkish units are undisciplined and count as disordered, and so they must roll high in order to move. The Turkish cavalry is formed in wedges. In the scenario rules, if one cavalry unit charges, its neighbors must make an order test to see whether they automatically charge as well.
Do 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 do.
Oh, help me, Jesus. Dave commands a large Turkish force in the fortified camp on the right of the battlefield. If these troops charge the Russian left flank, it will be all over for the Russians. Perry is forced to detach some of his units to screen the camp. Russian reinforcements arrive on the field, including my command.
So you finally enter the action.
Well, not quite yet. This is what it looks like on the map.
You sure do like drawing maps.
The Turkish guns fire on the advancing Russians.
Boom!
Here's a fun fact for you, Mrs. The Die is Cocked. The Turks chained their guns together at the start of every battle.
I just asked the internet, and it told me that was fake news.
Well, I guess you should always trust the internet to tell you the truth. Anyways, back to the game. Bob gets a hit, and Dave rolls a 1. The Ottoman infantry fires as well. The Russians return fire, and thank Jesus, my sound effects machine is working again.
You sound happy about that. And I feel very unappreciated.
Mark's cavalry sweeps around Eric's flank, and Bob's cavalry charges. Bob engages Perry's brigades in a furious melee. What the heck is that?
I watched your boring intro as you suggested. I'm just emulating the Janissaries carrying their soup kettles into battle. Bet your sound effects machine doesn't have this option.
Well, at least you watched my intro. The Russian guns fire ineffectually against the charging Turks. They achieve some disorder results, but as the Turks are always disordered, this counts for nothing. Melee is general all along the line. The Ottomans do very well, as Bob rolls a 10.
So, everyone else seems to be part of the action, except you.
You'll see in a minute. I'm forming up to screen Dave in the Ottoman camp. Bob's cavalry breaks through the Russian line. Though some are thrown back, there are now Turkish cavalry behind the Russians. You can see the Russian predicament from this map.
All I can see is that the yellow rectangles outnumber the green rectangles.
Perry moves his Cossacks up to steady the situation. Most of the Russian cavalry in the game are Cossacks, who are not very good troops in a battle like this. Faced by an overwhelming number of Turks, Eric attempts to form a new line.
So, you're still not doing anything yet.
Just wait.
Okie dokie.
Bob forms his troops up for another attack. Perry's Cossacks counterattack Bob's breakthrough. Surprisingly, the Cossacks give a good account of themselves in this fight. Bob and Mark attack the disrupted Russian line. Bob rolls well for his guns. Eric and Perry fire ineffectually at the Turkish hordes sweeping down on them.
The situation looks especially bad for Eric.
The Turks overwhelm Eric's lines, and he rolls a 1.
Shouldn't you be helping Eric when he is so overwhelmed?
My orders are to screen the camp. I'm only following orders.
Since when have you followed anyone's orders? And I don't think that only following orders is the get-out-of-jail-free card you think it is.
Perry attacks Bob to try to take the pressure off Eric. Here we can see Bob and Mark rolling to charge with their cavalry, but the cavalry units have taken so many losses that they refuse to charge. And now, the moment you have been waiting for, Mrs. The Die is Cocked. I finally do something. As you can see, Dave is moving his units inside his camp, but he just can't convince them to leave it. So, I fire at him with my artillery, and I force his gunners to abandon their guns.
So your best strategy is reliant on his forces being cowardly?
No, my strategy is to hope that he rolls even worse than I do.
That seems pretty unlikely, given your usual die-rolling skills.
Eric's guns are overwhelmed by the Turks and forced to withdraw, as his hussars try to save the day. Eric's command is hard-pressed everywhere, while Mark's cavalry prepares to pounce.
Man, if Eric were smart, he would be asking you to help him.
Oh, he did, but my orders were to screen the camp. Yet again, the Russians manage to steady their lines. They even manage a desperate counterattack.
Without any help from you.
Just keep watching. The Russians fire at the thinning Turkish ranks. Mark's cavalry attack Eric all along the line, while Bob attacks Perry. Everywhere, the Russians are hard-pressed. See how beautifully painted these figures are? With all of this color and action, do you see why the hobby is so appealing, Mrs. The Die is Cocked?
What was that you just said? I was checking my phone in case anyone had texted me. Please, save me. Anyone?
Meanwhile, nothing more is happening in the camp.
Meanwhile, Bruce is still not part of the action.
Har har. You know, Dave is a lovely man, and he and I had a lovely chat throughout the whole game.
I'm sure Eric really appreciated that.
Perry's Cossacks ride to Eric's aid and throw back Bob's cavalry. Perry's disciplined troops have destroyed most of the Turkish right flank. As you can see, Mrs. The Die is Cocked, Perry and I are fulfilling our orders. It's Eric who's letting us down.
Whatevs, Bruce. Seems like Eric has had his hands full fighting the whole Ottoman army on his own.
Well, now that you mention it, Eric is holding out against all odds. Mark's cavalry attacks yet again. Eric's wing is still in trouble. In spite of Perry's advance, Bob counterattacks and reverses Perry's gains. Perry, Eric, and I try to coordinate our attacks. Eric attacks Mark's Ottomans with his hussars. However, Mark throws them back. And then comes my great contribution to the battle. Watch this, Mrs. The Die is Cocked. My gallant Cossacks ride in to save the day and defeat Mark's cavalry. What do you think of that?
Well, better late than never, I guess. Couldn't you have done this a lot earlier?
I'm the cavalry. I'm supposed to arrive in the nick of time. Here we see the Ottomans launch their last great attack. Though they have suffered fewer casualties than the Russians, their units are of lower quality and cannot absorb losses in the same way that the Russians can. If they cannot win now, their units will be unable to carry on. The fighting is desperate for Eric, but he miraculously rolls a 10. On the last turn of the game, my cannon destroys the gun crew in the Turkish camp. Sorry, Dave.
And the crowd goes wild! Woohoo!
The Turks are thrown back. The fighting has been desperate, but with both sides exhausted, we decide to call the game. As I said before, the Russians have suffered heavier casualties than the Ottomans, but the Ottoman army is in no condition to carry on the fight. The umpire calls the game a draw, as was the outcome of the real Battle of Turbat. The Turks historically withdrew just a few miles to Giurgiu, and another battle was fought there the next day. As you know, it is my custom to play national music representing the winning side. This is God Save the Tsar. We will also play the March of Mahmud.
Here's yet another fun fact. Did you know that the Ottoman Empire didn't have a national anthem in 1807? The March of Mahmud became the national anthem a few years after this battle. And in fact, the Ottomans changed their national anthem every time there was a new sultan who took power.
You're just full of fun facts today, aren't you?
Not just today, but every day.
Oh, help me, Jesus. Well, that's all for now. Thanks for joining me in the basement. I'd also like to thank Mrs. The Die is Cocked for all her fun facts.
Hey, Bruce.
Yes, dear?
Would you like to join me upstairs for some Turkish delight?
Oh, no thanks. I'm good here in the basement. I'm still full from that big dinner and... Oh, wait. By Turkish delight, did you mean... Oh, okay. Well, gotta go. See you next time in the basement. Bye!